Okay, we bring him on a few times a year. Tyler Dunne. He has that newsletter. Sign up for it at golongtd.com. Through the years, he's been spot on a number of Packers stories. He's got a Packers story he's working on. He's also been writing about the Buffalo Bills. We have been highly critical of Sean McDermott on my radio and TV show. In an offensive pivoting league, they really feel like they're playing 1983 football. Let's first start, though, with your Green Bay updates. So there are certain things that are already out that the Packers are willing, if Aaron wants out, to move. They are happier today than a year ago with Jordan Love. They would send him to the AFC, not the NFC. That stuff's all out. Mark Murphy said last week, we'd like him to give us a decision sooner than later. Those four things are all out. My take has been a pretty simple one, that if Jordan Love is a B-level quarterback, that this is a pretty good roster with an additional first-round pick, maybe a third. Packers draft and develop at a pretty high level. They need an edge rusher, another tight end. They're pretty good. So any apprehension would lead me to believe they have huge concerns about Jordan Love. So let me start with this. From what I can tell, it does feel like they feel pretty good about Love as a potential starter. Is that what you garner from, recent discussions?
I've tried to talk to as many players as I possibly can these last couple weeks, Colin, because it does harken back to 2007, 2008, when Green Bay went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. They could make that move. Ted Thompson had the guts to make that move because they were confident in what they had in Aaron Rodgers. They saw it every day in practice. And if anybody knows if Jordan Love is ready, it's those players. It's the teammates. It's who sees this quarterback day in and day out, because they haven't really seen much on game day. What they have seen has been really, really promising in that Philadelphia game. And to a man, player to player, guys who have been on the scout team, have faced him in practice, they insist that Jordan Love is ready to be a starter in the NFL. I guess it kind of dates back, even a Jamal Williams, who was just with him that rookie season. He held up his hand when I saw him in Arizona. He's like, look at this pinky. And it's all busted up. He goes, yeah, that's from Jordan Love. He zipped it to my finger there as a rookie. The guy can sling it. He's got some rare physical gifts that's the reason they drafted him. That's what popped. But since that point forward, I think he's learned the offense. I think he's learned how to read defenses, and he's putting it all together. You saw in that Philadelphia game, he hit that back foot and the ball was out. He can run Matt LaFleur's offense.
Yeah. There's concern in San Francisco that Trey Lance, it was reported this week, isn't as athletic as San Francisco hoped, and he struggled with accuracy. My takeaway is Jordan Love right now is a more refined Trey Lance. He is athletic and he is accurate. Now, does he have the juice, the it? Very few do, right? Like that's like 8 on the planet. I also believe, and I don't have this sourced, I did see 2 different Packers at the Super Bowl. I'm not ready to go public with what one of them said yet. I may soon, so I'll hold off. But
do it.
I'm not ready to go there yet. But the Packers were an irrelevant franchise for most of the 70s and 80s. And I do feel like there's almost a fear in the building to be irrelevant. I sense that, but I'm on the outside. You tell me, you used to live there, you still cover them. This feeling of, oh. And I argue, Ty, the NFC, even the 2 loaded rosters, Philadelphia's got so many free agents. Niners don't have the quarterback probably in September. This is the time to rip it off. This is not the AFC with 5 or 6, 7 generational quarterback talents. Do you think that fear is just holding them back from ripping the Band-Aid off?
I think it absolutely has been what's held Mark Murphy, Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, everybody back from just moving on. I mean, we've talked about this for 2 years. I thought they should have done it, that first summer when Aaron is kind of dragging the team out to the public square and, dispatching his legion of surrogates and allies to flog Green Bay. I mean, that for 4 or 5 months, all you heard is how could Green Bay let it get to this point? But they begged, they pleaded. Matt LaFleur at the podium is just every possible way begging Aaron Rodgers to come back. They have that meeting. They have some backdoor promises. They give him a seat at the table. They trade for a washed up Randall Cobb. They do all these things to give him what he wants because of that fear. I think they're terrified of life on the other side of Aaron Rodgers. And you do see a lot of teams that live in that purgatory, but I'd argue, look at the New York Giants hanging on to Eli Manning and maybe a year too long. The Pittsburgh Steelers hanging on to Ben Roethlisberger a year too long. That's the bigger mistake is just tricking yourself into thinking that this guy might pull off a Tom Brady. There's one Tom Brady. There's one quarterback who can go to 45 doing what he did. And we saw it last year with Aaron Rodgers, the inevitable physical decline. His legs really aren't there. His arm is average to maybe above average. He wasn't really willing to work with those young receivers until it was too little too late. Hey, look, when Patrick Mahomes is bringing guys down to Fort Worth, what was Aaron Rodgers doing? I don't know. Ayahuasca and taking trips. And hey, we can mock OTAs all you want. I talked to one player who said it would have been really nice to have Aaron Rodgers at OTAs working on stuff because they got it. They turned that corner. But by then they were 3-4 games below 500.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I'm shocked that it's taken this long, but I think that the court of public opinion has kind of changed. I think fans, they saw what Jordan Love could be, just like they saw what Aaron Rodgers could be in that Dallas game in 2007. So the fact that it's kind of turned, remember it's community owned. The fans own the team. It's a little different with the Packers. The fact that that's kind of changed, I think is going to kind of maybe get Murphy and Gutekunst and LaFleur to a spot where they finally once and for all trade Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe my ego's too big, but I feel like words matter. And when Aaron said, I'm going to go on a retreat, a darkness retreat, which is fine, meditation's fine, that will get me closer to a decision. That's kind of effing with people. That would be like telling my wife, listen, I'm either way in the marriage. I'm going to go on a 4-day Vegas trip with the boys. That'll get me closer to a decision. She would say, bullshit. I want an answer when you get back. Like, we know Aaron's petty. We know he cares. He's thin-skinned. That kind of feels like, to me, Ty, he's kind of effing with him. It really does. You would never tell somebody you were in business with, hey, listen, I'm going to – Mark Murphy came out publicly and said, sooner the better. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to go hide for 4 days. It'll get me closer. Like, to me, that's – you've moved into poking in the ribs. That's what it feels like to me.
It would align with previous action. I mean, that this is what he's done for a few years now. So – yeah, we have to read between the lines because he's kind of speaking in code and beating around the bush and he's going on this darkness retreat. I had the same reaction as you. It feels like he's kind of messing with the team at this point, delaying it. When, there's that scene in Seinfeld where George Costanza's telling, the girlfriend, I invented the it's not you, it's me. The team and Rodgers are kind of going back and forth in this, like, well, I don't really want to trade you, but I want to trade you. I don't want to be here, but I kind of want to be here. Somebody's got to step up and be like, enough's enough. The Packers, they have that power. They could go on the offensive here, hell, and do something, talk to teams while he's on this darkness retreat. They haven't done it to this point. They're trying to be delicate. They know he's a future Hall of Famer. He's been the face of the franchise. I get all of that. But at some point, the lines were going to cross, right? This isn't the first time that Aaron Rodgers has done some things that have ruffled feathers and made management think a certain way, coaches think a certain way, but he's been winning MVPs. He's been taken to the conference championship game. It's always been worth it. Now that ability isn't there. That talent isn't there. At some point, you don't tolerate it, right? I mean, you tolerate it because he's so damn good and he's been good for so long. I think those lines have crossed now, and that management, if you read what Murphy has said, what the team has said, what they've kind of leaked to the media, it seems like they're ready to move on. And I say that gingerly because you never really know. But I think that maybe even the Packers are a little tired of this act, and they are in a spot to once and for all move on to a different quarterback.
He's not as mobile as he was 3 years ago. He's also not quite as committed in the offseason. Has anybody inside the organization ever hinted or acknowledged to you that they do see a decline in his overall ability, now turning 39 soon?
No, it's hard to get people to that spot. Even for background, I think it's been hinted at, and when they talk about Jordan Love and how excited they are about Jordan Love, how the ball just spins off his hand, how he's so athletic and fluid and has a command of the offense. Because let's face it, teammates, people in the organization, they're scared to say a negative word about Aaron Rodgers because they don't want to be cast off to the cornfield. I mean, if you're honest enough to say what you really think, hell, to just relive your experiences, literally just say what happened in a game against the San Francisco 49ers, like a person you know very well in Greg Jennings, he might just call you names, call you this, call you that, and next thing you know, you got Packer fans at your neck for the next 5 to 10 years. So players, they tread very lightly in that department. I do think, though, in how excited they are about Jordan Love, that kind of tells you everything you need to know.